For many, it's a night of partying till the early hours, but for others, it's more of an anti-climax.
Well, before we talk about what's on offer in Manchester to celebrate the turn of the decade and look back at the last 10 years, let's hear your thoughts on New Year's Eve.
Parties, lots of drinking and whatever else comes along.
Just a house party, just with friends and family. Going out.
I have no idea, none whatsoever.
Going to friends' houses.
I'm staying in as usual and, we usually open a bottle of champagne and then ring up some relatives to say Happy New Year.
I'm going down to St Albans.
We might go up north to Peterlee and County Durham.
There's too much hype. It's all commercial. It's got nothing to do with the reality of what goes on, has it, really? So we just keep it low-key.
I think it's who you're with and where you go and what kind of party you get invited to, really.
New Year's what you make it, pet. It's up to you. It's the individual.
It's always too expensive as well, so just spend the time with friends and family indoors.
When you're married and have children, you stay in and grout the tiles behind the toilet.
Of course you do.
If you can get an opportunity to grout tiles behind the toilet, it is to be seized.
Yeah.
Any opportunity.
Indeed. Anyway, let's welcome Oli Wilson, who's
Man
sat
about
there
town
very
who doesn't
patiently.
grout tiles, I would imagine. Hello, Ollie.
Yeah,
I can't say I've ever grouted tiles.
No,
Certainly not on
I don't
New Year's
suspect you
Eve.
sitting on New Year's Eve grouting tiles behind the toilet, do you?
Maybe I'll give it a go this year.
Yeah, there's an idea.
I suspect you'll be out somehow, will you?
Yeah, I will be actually. I've actually got my own New Year's Eve party at Sankey's in town, which we're promoting at the moment, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yes, I will be out all night, but I'll be working, so I won't be partying and drinking. I will be working, unfortunately.
Does that take the edge off it for you?
It does actually, and I'm probably not going to do it next year because I always end up working on New Year's Eve because I do club nights, and it's really quite nice just to relax.
It is the club night of the year, presumably, is it?
Oh, of course it is, yeah. Sankey's, so New Year's Eve
that's
on
enough, that's enough Sankey's.
You're a pro. Oh, you're getting your plug in.
I'm sorry.
I've got a very crucial question for you, though, because we have been debating this, and I know I have sort of asked you off-screen as well. We mentioned, Andy said we'll be looking back over the noughties, as they were dubbed. What are we going to call this new decade, then?
Well, I've got a good theory on this. In the era of internet and the digital age, is that it's 10, it's 1 and a 0, and that's binary code, and that's digital.
Yeah.
I think we should call it the digital decade.
Well, we'll see. It's got legs. Maybe we could run with that, because I don't like the 10s.
The 10s is
rubbish. And we can't have the teens.
The 10s is rubbish. I think
13?
digital decade, it's and it's a clever take on 10, a 1 and a 0.
The noughties, the digitals, the 20s.
Copyright that, Ollie.
Yeah, that's my
when
idea.
Everybody starts
please,
using it, you heard it here first. With Ollie. So, of those noughties, you're looking right back to turn of the millennium. Do you remember, I mean, you're talking about your New Year's Eve party. Do you remember seeing in 99 to 2000?
I do. I went to Castlefield Arena and there was a huge party there, and I remember 808 State were playing at midnight and they played their famous tune Pacific State, which was a big acid house anthem 10 years before then, and it was a great night. But I was only 15 at the time. I'm 25 now, so I shouldn't have been out at all, really, at that age.
You should have been at home.
Yeah.
Do you remember, though, all the panic leading up to 2000?
And
all the,
that everything was going to shut down and fall to pieces.
Yeah.
But when, I don't know if you remember New Year's Day, it was really, really foggy, and you couldn't see anything, and it was like everything had fallen to pieces. It's like doomsday has arrived.
What's happened?
Of those 10 years, then, from 15 to 25, what events of note do you recall?
Well, do you know what? I feel really guilty because Manchester is a fantastic place, and it has changed so much in the last 10 years. When I was 17, it was really quite a boring place. It was still in the shadow of Manchester, of the Hacienda, and all that kind of stuff. And there was nothing new and fresh and exciting about the city. And this is what I feel bad about. I left. I moved to London.
Traitor.
I know. How terrible is that? And I've come back about a year ago. And I cannot believe how much it's changed. And I'm so proud of Manchester. And it's just a fantastic city now that has totally changed from when I was a 15-year-old at the start of the last 10 years. And what a fantastic place it is now. So I don't know what's the best year out of all of them. Probably this year, because this is the year that I've come back and it's totally changed. And I've fallen in love with it.
That was about you, wasn't it?
It's all about you.
What about moments that you'll recall from the noughties? I mean, when you look back over time, there's always events within that decade that stands out. What about the noughties for you? Anything that kind of is at the forefront
What stands
of your
out
mind?
of the noughties? Well,
major news events, weren't there?
There were major news events. I mean, you've got stuff like September the 11th. I think the biggest thing for me was probably the London tube bombings, because I was living in London at the time, and I was living right by Aldgate Station. What a lovely part of town to live in that is. Not. But I remember it, and it was a terrifying time. And that is probably the event that will stand out for me, because it really did get to me at the time. And my ex-girlfriend was actually on one of the tubes before the one that blew up, and she'd legged it right down the platform. You know, when you're running for the train, and she just got in through the doors. But if she hadn't have done, she would have been on the train that blew up. So it was a really stressful time. And living in that area was horrible. So that's what will probably stand out for me most.
It's funny, isn't it? You sometimes find yourself dominated by the negative things that have happened. You've got to rack your brains to think of the good stuff.
I know, it's quite depressing.
But it has been a good decade, hasn't it?
I know, let's have some cheer. It has been fantastic. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. It'll be a good New Year's Eve, I'm sure, and it was a good decade. I turned 40 in the noughties, so it was worth that. If nothing else.
40 in the noughties.
40 in the noughties.
I like it. Thank you very much for
Ollie.
coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Have a wonderful New Year's Eve.
And we'll see you in the digital decade.
See you there.
To talk New Year's resolutions, no less, I'm sure.